There we go. Look at the colours on him. Proper red in colour. Really angry. And he's taken that really cheap rattling jig that I've got. Well, good evening and welcome back to another squid fishing adventure. Tonight I've come out. It's an absolutely still, perfect and beautiful evening. Not a breath of wind in the air. Perfect opportunity to get out and try for some squid on the jigs just as the tide turns. Now we've got a really small tide tonight, about 8 meters. We're on the lowest point of the tide. It's just about to turn. The tide's going to slowly flow in and hopefully that's going to bring us some squid. Now tonight I'm going to do things a little bit differently. Usually I fish a 2-jig rig with a jig above another jig and I just bang it out, let it drop down to the bottom and just slowly wind it in. But tonight, because the water is so slow, if I was to use 2 jigs, it's going to drop down too quick and it's going to get caught up on the seagrass on the bottom. So I'm just going to go for a single jig. Now this jig is the cheapest jig in my box. It costs £1.50. I've got other jigs in my box which range between, you know, 10 and 15 pounds. They are quality jigs, which big companies have put in loads of time to get the specifics right and the configuration right to make those jigs catch. Well, this is just a cheap little knockoff. Now, I'm quite against knockoffs, but I just wanted to put it to the test. This one has got a lovely little rattle. It's got a beautiful orange back with a sparkle to it and a yellow bottom. My favourite combination, yellow and orange. So what we're going to do is we're going to whack this out and just see if the cheap jigs do catch instead of an expensive one. I've set up my light already, as you'll probably just see here. There it is, just to shine up the water. You can actually see the bottom here, right down there. It's probably about 8 foot deep. And all I'm going to do is just jig this lure, and as you can see, it looks really nice, and it just kind of looks like a little prawn in the water, to be honest. It's got a nice shine on it, it's got a nice rattle to it. Now, I'm not saying we're going to catch any squid right now, but you just never know, really. You just never know. I'm just going to cast it out into the darkness. I'm not going to let this sink too much, to be honest. I'm just going to jig it ever so slowly. Now, it's a little bit different when I'm using the 2-jig rig. Going to bring it in pretty much the same, to be honest. Just jigging it ever so slowly. Like so, but always keeping tension on it by reeling my reel. This jig looks amazing. I can see it all the way on the bottom. But like I say, it's a small tide and it's low tide, so the tide's going to be on the turn. So hopefully something's going to turn up and we're going to get something. I never usually fish a single jig, but because the water's so shallow, I've decided against 2, because if it sinks too much, I'm just going to get caught up on the bottom. Oh, there's a squid. Oh, I've got a squid. First squid of the night. I just seen it come out of nowhere. Straight in after me. And there's our first squid of the night. We're going to get this in. There we go. Beautiful squid. Well, I'm really not complaining about that. It's low tide. There's not a breath of fresh air. And I've just caught my first squid and it's an absolute beast. There we go. Look at the colours on him. Proper red in colour. Really angry. And he's taken that really cheap rattling jig that I've got off the internet. Can't go wrong. As I was saying before, the orange and the red with the rattle really does it for me, but that is a perfect start to tonight. No one around. As I say, it's an absolutely still, calm night. Just fishing this ever so slowly, singly tonight instead of the 2-jig rig, but you just can't go wrong with that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful squid. Let's see if we can get another. Happy days. Well, there's our first squid of the night, and it's an absolute jammer. Taking on that really cheap jig. I tell you what, it's a beautiful looking jig, and that's a beautiful squid. Nice big red colours. Can't go wrong with that. Really cannot complain. Beautiful. Now, like I always say, you need to be humane. Let's put it out of its misery. Get your chopping hand ready. Give it that karate chop into this section here. And what will happen is the whole squid will go white humanely. There you go, instant. Beautiful. Put it out of its misery, changes colour, and there we have our first squid of the evening. Well, look, I'm not complaining about that. It's left all of its ink in and around on the water. Again, just using that little rattler singly. And with that, I was just literally bringing it in. I'd cast it out like so. And I was just bringing it in ever so slowly with the occasional jig. And in the light of my head torch, I'd just seen a squid just come up behind my lure and just let it sink ever so slowly, keeping tight on it, and bang, we had our first squid. Now, there's so many different ways of fishing for squid. As you've probably seen in some of my videos, I really do like the float or with a 2-jig rig. But when it's really shallow like so, you can see the bottom pretty much down there. You can see all the old scallop shells. The singular doesn't sink too fast, doesn't sink too quick. I'll be really happy here with a few squid. Oh, look at that bend on that rod. That's another one. Just bringing it in ever so slowly out of the darkness. And this one looks all right as well. No need to pump and wind, just keep a nice pressure on it. Yep, we've got a second squid. Oh, it's another nice one. Well, there we go. Second squid. This one's chunky as well. He's got a real chunk to it. Look at those mean looking eyes. Massive eyes. Predatory eyes. And again, just taking that jig. Look at that. He's absolutely inhaled that. Oh, he squirted me a little bit. Take that out. There you go. That's our second squid. Beautiful colour. I'm not going to hold this one up to the camera for too long. We'll get straight back into it, because if there's more than one there, but look at that. Mean looking things. You wouldn't want to be a small pilchard or a bait fish or a grotto around at the moment, because these things will just chew up. And there's been a lot of times where when I've gutted them, inside of their bodies there are small little fish. Right, let's put you out of your misery again. There you go. Turned white instantly. And there you go. 2 lovely squid. Cannot complain about that. And as I was saying, I'm just fishing a little slip situated in Jersey. As you can see, it's low tide. The cafe and that's up there. No one around. No one around at all. And what I'm doing is I'm just whacking it out as far as I can to this buoy which is out there. I don't know if you can see it on my head torch. And just bringing it in ever so slowly. Well, if you're new to the channel and you haven't watched any of my squid jigging videos before, usually I fish with a 2-jig rig. 2 jigs on 1 rig. Usually this rattler on the bottom and then a silent one above. Small boom, which I make myself so I can fish 2 jigs at once. Now, if I was going to do that here in about 8 foot of water, more than likely with the weight of the jigs, both of them are going to fall too quickly and we're going to get snagged up on the bottom. There's a lot of seagrass in this area. It's like green, wavy, grassy stuff that's all over the bottom. Perfect for the squid themselves. But if I had 2 on, more than likely I'd be picking that up constantly and it just wouldn't be fun. And that's why I've just chose to go with the 1 jig tonight. And it's paying off, to be honest. I've had those 2 really nice squid to start off with. So a little bit of food for thought, and depending on where you're fishing. If you're fishing somewhere nice and deep, I always recommend 2. You're giving yourself that double chance, because you do catch 2 squid sometimes at the same time. But because the depth is so shallow, I'm just using that one so I can control it falling, and I can jig it and control it falling, knowing that it's not going to fall to the bottom too quick. Oh yep, there we go. It's been a while since I had it hooked up on a squid, but I've just got another one. Big bend on the rod. Big bend on the rod. You can hear it squirting away. There we go, there's another one. Oh, there's a massive squid below. Let's try and get this one in. There's another squid just down there. There was another squid just behind it, and it was massive. Like I was saying, sometimes you get two come up at the same time. Let's get another. We'll get a snap of that one in a minute, but must have just cast onto the squid bus stop. I don't know if you would have seen that on the camera, but there was another massive squid behind that. Well, there's our third squid. Beautiful little squid, but when I was bringing that in, staying deep, was another one below it. The one jig is really killing it tonight in this shallow stuff. A beautiful kraken, another one to add to the two that we've got already. Can't complain about that. Oh, this is really good jigging, to be honest. Hopefully we can get that bigger one, because it looked a really nice size. And what happened is I was bringing my jig with the squid along the top, just slowly bringing it in as I would. And down here below it, just seeing this torpedo coming in. Another squid, 100% a squid by the colour. I think I've just hooked into one straight away. I might have got a small one here. Oh no, weed. And that's the seagrass that I was on about before. Disgusting stuff. That's what happens when your jig gets down too deep. Like I was saying, if I had two jigs on right now, I'd be pulling that stuff up constantly. I just love the connection. When you're bringing your jig in, you go to wind on it. If you don't feel the initial hit, it's just that big bend, and then that pump. Well, at least we know there's another one around. We'll try maybe just one, just out into the shallow stuff, just in case that other squid is mooching around still in this area. Chance that we will get hung up though on the weed in the area. Well, how good was that little baby? Done the damage tonight. I just used this just to see if it would do the job. Now, as I was saying, I bought this off the internet very, very cheap. Got it in a pack of about 5 or 6, and it worked out at about £1.50. It does just prove that you don't have to spend super amounts of money on squid jigs. Sometimes with the right colour, with the rattle, it will work. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy this particular lure, but maybe you can just add a few other lures to your box, having a little bit of a variety for when those other lures don't work. I love this colour. This is my favourite colour. Yellow, orange, sparkly, bit of shine. The good old Yuzuri with the flash plate in this colour was the original gangster for me. But today, this one served its purpose and it's done us really well. So I will be using that a little bit more. Maybe next time, you never know, I might resort back to the better, more expensive lures that I do have in my box. But till then, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something along the way. Different rigs, different methods in the depth of water that you're fishing. It's always nice to mix it up, but take your opportunity where you are fishing. So, until next time, get jigging.